got a lot to get into. Erika Kirk seems to have had enough and is responding, I would argue, directly to the likes of Candace Owens. We also have a response from Tucker Carlson about now he is in agreement with Candace Owens on the official narrative not being accurate. We also have Brett Cooper talking about Nick Fuentes, why he's so popular. We have a Calvary Chapel pastor responding to Candace Owens directly with her claims that Calvary Chapel is connected to the CIA. And then we have Dave Ramsey responding to what's actually going to take to fix the housing crisis and a lot of the concern of Gen Z. And of course, my friend Wes Huff getting into the nitty-gritty of why so many Christians have deconstructed and what is a better alternative to all of this. Before we get into the epic clapback of Erika Kirk on Fox News, I would be a bad friend if I didn't let you guys know that I am going on tour this spring to Houston on March 21st, Dallas on March 22nd. We're also heading over to Chicago, Oakmont Theater in the Pittsburgh area, Arlington, Virginia, New York City, Los Angeles, Clearwater, Florida. Hit the pinned comment down below. Get your tickets now. It's gonna be a fun night. I'll be having some conversations about my new book, Godly Ambition, really getting over some of the victim mentality and what does it look like to steward our time, talent, and treasure for the Lord, and a live podcast answering your guys' questions. So all the dates and tickets are available now. Get them now before they sell out. Let's jump into this Erika Kirk appearance on Fox News. So before we get into what I think might be a clapback to Candace Owens, here is Erika Kirk answering a question that I didn't even know people were asking regarding all this. This broke my heart. Check this out.
Talk to me about this part of the conspiracies that are out there, this disturbing part that people are trying to guess where Charlie is.
Can I have one thing?
Ugh. I didn't even know this would be, ugh, yuck. Why are people asking where Charlie's body is? Ugh.
Can I have one thing?
Yeah.
Can my children have one thing? Everything was public. We will be building the most beautiful memorial for my husband at Turning Point USA, and it will be for the world to see, and it will be spectacular, and it will have basically museum style for our Charlie, for my Charlie. But can I have one thing? Can my babies have one thing where we hold it sacred, where my husband is laid to rest, where I don't have to be worried about some secular revolutionary coming and destroying my husband's grave while my daughter is sitting there praying? One thing. This is my husband. Yes, he was Charlie Kirk to the world, and I know so many people love my husband, and I am grateful for that, but this is my husband, and I want to be able to have one thing left that is sacred to our family, to my in-laws, to my babies, and to my parents. One thing.
Yeah, I didn't know this was now a question that people are asking. Where is he buried? Oh, that is so gross. And yes, she absolutely should be able to have one thing that's private. So much of this has been played out publicly. So much of this has been just smearing Turning Point USA, smearing everyone that meant anything to Charlie with the wildest conspiracies. This is very sensible on Erika's part, and I like this tone. I like this, hey, like gloves are off. We're gonna have grown-up conversations. I like this. So this report, and I'm assuming she knew that this was gonna come up, but she starts leaning into the conspiracies and just addressing them head on, which I appreciate.
What are they taking from you right now?
Nothing. But I will tell you what they are doing. It reminds me so much of chapter 6 in the book of Nehemiah. He is building a wall, and the townspeople are at the base of that hill saying, Nehemiah, calling him all these names, saying all these things, come on down.
Okay, we're going to look at chapter 6 of Nehemiah in a second, but she is specifically talking about why she hasn't, and Turning Point hasn't, up until this point, directly engaged with some of the utter buffoonery regarding some of these conspiracy theories from our friend Frank Turek being in on it, to the FBI, to you name it, Egyptian planes. She's saying this is why they're not going to engage. And we're going to look at the scripture in a minute.
Every single time he had the same message 4 times in a row. I cannot come down. I am busy building. That is how I feel. I do not have time to address the noise. My silence does not mean that I am complacent.
That's right.
My silence does not mean that somehow Turning Point USA and all of the handpicked staff that loved my husband and my husband loved them is somehow in on it.
Okay, let's look at the passage real quick before we let Erika cook. So this is what she's referencing to. Nehemiah, verse 2, it says, Sanballat and Geshem sent me this message. Come, let us meet together in one of the villages on the plain of Ono. But they were scheming to harm him. So I sent messengers to them with this reply. I am carrying on a great project and cannot go down. Why should the work stop while I leave it up and go down to you? 4 times they sent me the same message, and each time I gave them the same answer. Okay, now I love that she's referencing scripture. And again, if you guys don't know, this is Logos Bible software. I love this software because it gives us the ability to jump into the Greek, jump into the Hebrew, understand the context of passages. Everyone can get a free 60-day trial of this software. It costs hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars for pastors. Now you guys could all get it for free. Hit the link in the pinned comment below. But these are the types of tools that I love in Logos. I could hit something like this, which is Insights. And under Insights, it actually allows me to see different commentaries regarding what this is talking about. So here, in this commentary to the right, it says, the villages, many English translations understand the Hebrew word here, Kiprim, as a popular name. In this case, Kiprim might be the same as the similar sounding Kafra. Other translations render it one of the villages. So those are the types of things that are super fascinating to me, is being able to go back into the original language, look at what this is saying in its proper context. And again, Logos offering every single one of you guys a free 60-day trial. Then I think it's like $12 a month after that. Link is pinned up. Let's jump back into what Erika's saying.
We are busy building. And you know what I thought? I thought these people are human. We are all grieving in our own way. And they are trying to find the answer to something that happened that was so evil. They are trying so hard. And I get that. We're doing the same. Anytime we hear a lead or anytime we hear anything, we send it to the authorities. Please dig into this. No rock will be unturned. I want justice for my husband, for myself, for my family, more than anyone else out there. So for me, you want to keep telling me to come down while we're building?
Yeah.
I don't have time for that.
That's right.
But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever.
And she's caught a lot of flack from the way she grieves to what she's wearing to the, like, it's so gross, the type of stuff that people have said about Erika Kirk.
But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
Yeah, I mean, who can she be talking about besides Candace Owens, right? I don't mean to stir the pot, but hundreds of thousands of dollars per episode. Yes, when you count the number of integrations, when you count the number of views, the number of super chats coming in, yeah, she might be even clearing in the mid hundreds of thousands, if not seven figures per episode, with the type of shenanigans that she is perpetrating, and yes, attacking the very people that Erika Kirk is rightfully talking about, attacking the Blakes, attacking the pastors, Rob McCoy's, his son Mikey McCoy, attacking Frank Turek, right? We're going to look at a Calvary Chapel pastor in a second, responding to directly some of the things that have been said about Calvary Chapel being a CIA op. So yes, all of this, she's leaning in, and we're going to see now Tucker Carlson doesn't believe the official narrative. So when she says they, it's not just Candace, for the record. It's a lot of people, the Ian Carrolls, all these goofballs that are now propagating this stuff and monetizing this.
You know, I have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy.
Come on.
This is a mind virus.
That's right. This is a mind virus. This is a mind virus. I call it the woke right. Some of you guys don't call it the woke right. It's what it is. It's a bunch of people who have now taken on a victim mentality because they've gone down a conspiracy rabbit hole and they feel like the entire system is rigged and they can't get ahead and no one could do anything. And the only thing you can do is just watch them put out this brain rot every single day instead of you controlling the things that you can control. Candace Owens said, LOL to meritocracy, LOL to you getting ahead. Like, that's the conclusion of this sort of stuff in a practical way. So, yes, mind virus, great way to put it. It's like what we saw with the Transformer mind virus. It's like what we saw with the, everything is racist mind virus. It's actually super spot on with this.
Even our judicial system, I do. We have a hell of a team working on this, excuse my French, but this is not okay.
Yeah.
So you want to put these people back in the box where they've been creeping from?
I don't care what box you're in, but just know that your words are very powerful and we are human.
Yep.
My team are not machines and they're not robots.
Yep.
They are human.
That's right.
We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. I have, you name it, we have it. And my poor team is exhausted. And every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do? Relive that trauma all over again?
Yeah.
They watched my husband get murdered. I have no idea how I would have reacted if I was there that day.
Yeah, a lot of folks were like, well, he didn't do this, and they did this, and why is this, and why they pull the memory cards out? And it's like, you don't know how people are going to react under that degree of pressure, that degree of tension. You have no idea what people are going through.
And thank the good Lord that I did not have to see that happen. But my team, they are rocked to the core.
Yeah.
So why every single day do they have to be dragged through the mud analyzed, hyper-analyzed.
You know, the conspiracies that are out there, all of the like. Do you think that there is more of it now because you do shine your light? I mean, did people just expect you would just go away?
I don't know what they expected. I don't know what they expected.
They pick on you because of your accessories. I mean, I've seen some of it.
Oh, yeah. No, at this point, it's what the conspiracy collection. Get it before Christmas. Like
The conspiracy collection. Hey, the fact that she can be angry and still make light of it at the same time and smile, I just think says so much about her.
Seriously, if you want to find and pick me apart, go right ahead. I do not care. I don't. This was happening before Charlie was murdered. Both of us have been through the ringer of people will call you whatever they want to call you.
Yeah, and so speaking of people calling you whatever they want to call you and the conspiracy rabbit hole, now Tucker Carlson is back to his own shtick, getting in on some of this stuff, pretending to be dumb the way he always is. I don't know anything. I don't know anything, but I think that the official report's not accurate. So now Tucker Carlson, who, again, he spoke such a beautiful eulogy, or I guess you would call it a eulogy, at Charlie's memorial. And now he's sitting down with Theo Von and basically saying that he's with Candace. All these inconsistencies about Egyptian planes. He doesn't believe the official federal investigation narrative, which again, we've went over multiple times, why the federal government is not going to give us all the information because they're building a case against Tyler Robinson. Okay, listen to Tucker just, oh man, I can't believe this is where we are.
And I love his wife and know his wife well, and so I feel...
I wonder how you feel about what his wife just said on Fox News, blasting everybody, pushing this. If you love his wife well, Tucker.
Emotional about it. So, I just haven't wanted everything to do with it. But I will say a couple of things. I don't understand the official story.
I don't understand. I'm a big dumb guy. I don't understand anything. You understand. You understand that there's monetization happening of this in the 8 figures. You should of all people, Tucker, you should understand.
Of his assassination,
I don't understand it, and I want to make sure that there is a truly rigorous and honest federal investigation of it, and I'm definitely concerned about that. A, B, I think that I don't know many of the details, but I know that recently Candace said that Egyptian registered aircraft were following Erika Kirk, Charlie's widow, around for a number of years in different places in the world. That's one of the weirdest things I've ever heard, and I just want to say that is factually true.
Okay, so I believe Steven Crowder did pretty in-depth analysis on the Egyptian plane theory and how Candace even fumbled the basic time zones that these airplanes were flying in. So factually true that there was airplanes in the same airports that they traveled in. It's not a smoking gun that Egypt, on behalf of Israel, was in on this thing, or that Charlie Kirk's team was in on this thing.
That's true. So that's like the one data point that I happen to know is true. What does that mean? I have literally no idea. I can't even guess, but that's very, very strange.
And what is Egyptian? It could mean aircrafts from Egypt. Who knows?
I think that they were registered in Egypt.
Got it.
And but that fact is true. So and it also her claim that there were kind of a disproportionately large number of foreign registered cell phones at the event.
There's 3,000 people at the event. There's going to be people from other countries at a high-profile event like this.
That's also true. So what does that add up to? I don't know, but it means that the FBI has a moral and legal obligation to look in every direction and to be.
In a second, I'm going to show you guys how the FBI goes about stuff like this, but because it's not that complicated. It really isn't, right? And again, Tucker's doing this. I'm a big dummy. I don't know anything a bit that he does.
Be open-minded as you would in any investigation, in journalism, in science. It's all the same process. I don't know the answer, and I'm going to sift through everything as open-mindedly as I can, as honestly as I can, to get to what the truth is. That's science, that's law enforcement, that's journalism. It's all the same. That's justice. And I just want to make sure that is happening, and I just don't have a ton of confidence in the FBI or the men who run it.
I don't have a ton of confidence in the FBI or the men that run it. Now, let me give you guys a better explanation of someone that actually comes from this world and explains to us how and why the FBI isn't going to give all the details to the public. Okay, so I referenced this video before. Really go show some love to my man. What do you meme? He actually has a great video explaining how Candace has been using cult-like tactics for a while. This is him sitting down with my other friend, J. Warner Wallace, who's the author of Cold Case Christianity. They're going over how investigations actually work, and amazing conversation. So check this out for those of you guys that are like, well, I don't understand this and I don't understand that. Listen to an actual detective. J. Warner Wallace is an actual investigative detective, and he explains all this so brilliantly.
So here's the California jury instructions related to this term, speculation. It is, you do not allow jurors to speculate. You know that every case, like I suggested, is going to have unanswered questions. So let's say, imagine you've got a puzzle, okay, and there's a 100-piece puzzle. And so now there's like 3 empty pieces. Well, all of the sophisticated conspiracy theories, you'll say, let's just take, we've got a ton of conspiracy theories that are in circulation right now as you and I talk. And they're always going to focus on the missing 3 puzzle pieces, which is exactly what this jury instruction is telling jurors not to do. You can build any inference from the other 97 pieces, but you cannot focus on the missing 3 and say, I wonder if, isn't it possible that, take that stuff out of your vocabulary. Because that you cannot focus on the missing 3 pieces, but if you're online and you're an influencer and you're trying to posit a conspiracy theory that's going to draw thousands of clicks, you're either going to have to do one of 2 things: argue that the evidence that's been presented so far is untrue, can't trust it, right? Or you're going to work in the missing 3 pieces. We haven't seen anything over here. This is why.
Okay, so I love that he said that speculation is not evidence. You can speculate, pontificate, come up with theories, all sorts of stuff. And we saw Candace do that. I mean, we literally talked about multiple shooters. We talked about the French Brigade. We talked about the shot coming up from underneath. I mean, there's everything in the name of just asking questions. And when it comes to the evidence and why is more not put out there, J. Warner Wallace puts it this way. Check it out.
As an investigator, I don't want the public to know anything about my case. Anything. If I've started collecting evidence, and I've got 10 pieces now, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't know who the guy is yet, but I do have 10 good pieces of evidence, and I'm now stuck. I'm reaching a point where I need some help. Like maybe I have a video, and I'd like to know who this guy is. Probably somebody knows. Let's take that one of the 10 pieces I've collected so far. That's one piece of evidence. Let's put that online. Let's go to the public with that one piece. And sure enough, you go to the public with that one piece, and he gets identified. Great. That video did turn the tables, right? Because his dad saw the video. Okay, so this is what's very helpful. Now, I've also got another 9 set of pieces of evidence so far. And I have not told the public about those. There's no need to. That one piece did its job. I've now got the suspect identified. Now I'm still working hard. I've got another 400 pieces of evidence I've collected. How much of that have I told the public about? Zero. Why would I tell the public about any of that? Once I got the guy identified and he's in custody, I've caught him, I have one more event in this case, the trial. That's it. Yeah. The investigation's over. The arrest is over. I'm down to prosecution now. You'll hear about it if you want to televise the investigation, the prosecution, the trial. But otherwise, I'm not going to say anything about those pieces. Now, what I've created in the public's eye is a bunch of unanswered questions. Where's the autopsy report? Oh, they're not releasing the autopsy report. That seems a bit odd. No, that's not unusual. That's every case I've ever worked. If I didn't need to have a video out there to identify my suspect, I'm not telling anything to anybody until we go to trial. Sometimes that trial, by the way, is 4 years downstream from the arrest. I've had a couple of those.
And so why is this significant? This is significant because Tucker Carlson's I don't have confidence in the FBI, Candace Owens, they don't understand that just asking these questions of stuff that the FBI may be intentionally withholding because perhaps there was a accomplice after the fact. Perhaps there was a group of people online that could have known about it before the fact. All kinds of different stuff, right? In that, if you're just giving everyone everything, if the FBI was doing that, you're now potentially giving the defense how to build their case in Tyler Robinson's favor. And what they don't understand, and that people are like, how can they be messing with the case? They don't understand that Tucker, that Candace, that Ian could potentially be poisoning the jury pool. Because if this doesn't go out until a year down the road or the trial doesn't start till later, and now you have only, I think they said 25% or 30% of the population believing the official narrative, you've now poisoned the jury pool. And God forbid, the actual person who did this, Tyler Robinson, by all measurable accounts, the radicalized leftist that was dating a trans furry boyfriend, actually could get off. Like that, I think they don't understand the weight and what they're actually playing with regards to the situation in the name of it being content and clicks and ad revenue and brand deals. And that's why I find it just gross. Like, I find it repeatedly gross that this is what now everyone on the woke right is resorting to. Not to mention, Candace repeatedly being caught in lies and then just moving on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And honestly, I think people are getting tired of it. I don't know how folks keep showing up and watching this over and over again. I think people are getting tired of it, but maybe I'm wrong. I want to know what you guys think about that. In a moment, I'll give you an example of just that, of making a bunch of claims, and then before people have time to debunk them, she moves on to a bunch of other claims. But first, let's get into this Calvary Chapel pastor directly responding to one of the very obvious lies that Candace is now propagating. Okay, so this is Pastor David of Calvary Chapel, Chino Valley. He has been a part of the movement since the 1970s. He shares a story how he came to faith during the Jesus Revolution. There's a whole movie about that. And he is going to directly lean in to the utter bizarre claims that Candace is making about the Calvary Chapel, which has been around forever, and them being connected to the CIA. Okay, so again, now she's attacking churches. And so those of you guys that are mad at me for responding to it, I'm not the only one out here. Now there's actual, like, legit pastors who've been doing the Lord's work forever. And Calvary Chapel is not no mega church prosperity denomination where folks have jets. They teach verse by verse through the Bible. They do great on discipleship. They're awesome communities, and they're all over the country. And so here are her claims, and then we'll look at Pastor David's response.
Start to ask yourself, what is guiding the Calvary Chapel, right? What is behind this? Do you really think this is all just accidental? Their obsession with Christian Zionism, the history, the CIA implications of who exactly started the Calvary Chapel, which kind of became the offshoot of the hippies movement. Chuck Smith is his name, CIA character that was close to him. The implications here, when you look at all of the military characters that are involved, really have me asking a lot of questions.
So she's completely gone off the rails with that claim. So this is Pastor Chuck Smith. He was a faithful Bible teacher, and then in the 1960s, he started engaging and evangelizing and loving on the hippie people who were miraculously starting to come to faith themselves. And then the church exploded, and there's been Calvary Chapels planted all over, and folks like Greg Laurie have came out of that, so on and so forth. And so even if you Google this, there's no credible evidence or widespread reporting linking the famous Calvary Chapel pastor Chuck Smith to the CIA. The confusion likely stems from the TV show about a spy, the figure's name, Chuck and Intelligence, Chuck Missler, a Bible teacher with potential links to defense, or perhaps speculation about evangelical political ties. But Pastor Chuck Smith wasn't a spy, focusing on his mystery. Okay, so apparently, I don't know if she got this from a TV show or what, but let's let Pastor David respond directly to these claims.
I'll first address that briefly. Pastor Chuck was my pastor. He most certainly was not some government-sponsored official trying to turn all Calvary Chapels into some military organization. It's so ridiculous. I can't remember all the things I think about that. I mean, it's just so odd. What we were hippies. I mean, my goodness. If there was anything I was, it was anti-establishment. If there's anything I was, it's anti-military. I was a hippie. You know, I got...
And people forget Calvary Chapel movement exploded, again, because these hippies were coming to Jesus. And this is on the backdrop of people mass protesting the Vietnam War. These folks were anti-war. These folks were coming out of the free love movement. These folks were not this. And he ends up challenging her in a second to look at something else, and it's gonna upset some of you guys, but I think it's a worthwhile challenge. And he also addresses directly to this idea of like, oh, Christian Zionism, give Israel a blank check to do whatever. That's why. And let me let Pastor Dave explain.
Saved. I became a believer in 1970. You know, the Vietnam War was still going on. My friends were still going. Some of my friends were being wounded. Others died in Vietnam. I was not Mr. Patriot. If I was anything, I was anti-establishment. That's what we were. And so to be painted as a covert CIA operative is funny. It's kind of like, to me, it's like, please, where did you get that? Who in the world told you that, Candace?
Well, likely what happened is one of her deputized audience members got confused with that TV show, sent it to her, one of her sources, and then she ran with it because she's not really fact checking any of this stuff. Well, and I'll show you guys an example of this in a second with regards to just her repeatedly being caught in flat out lies. Okay, now you really should go watch this full video because he gets into explaining how Calvary Chapel works, that it's not a denomination or a top-down hierarchy, that they're independent churches, so on and so forth. And now he gets directly in and addresses the claims about Israel and whatever influence people think Israel has over Calvary Chapel. And then he's going to push back. And again, this is going to really upset some of you with regards to how he challenges Candace at the end.
Pastor Chuck never told us, you must get in line with my beliefs, my feelings about Israel or whatever. He never did that with us. What we did is we entered, and we have done, we entered into the scriptures and grew to love the nation of Israel and Jewish people. We don't support every single thing they do. And no, we don't see national Israel as a prophetic fulfillment of all that will occur in the future yet. We just see it as being formed and moved in that direction. And we know that God still works with the people. There's nothing wrong with believing that. There's a biblical way to look at things. We know that the Lord is not through with it. All you got to do is look at Romans 9, 10, and 11. You'll see it's very clear. God has not forsaken those whom he had called. The gifts and callings of God are without revocation. God is going to do and continue to do a work in Israel. And no, we don't believe in the replacement theological stance that the church takes the place of blessings of Israel. We believe that God continues to work with Israel. He's got a plan for Israel. And ultimately, those whom he calls and all of that, they're going to come to faith in their Messiah. So,
yeah, and we've looked at this in the scriptures regarding what we see in Romans 11:25, and you really should sit down on your own and read Romans 9, 10, and 11. I can't get into all of it with you guys, but in our Trusty Logos Bible software, it says, all Israel will be saved. This is the title, and then that's literally language. I do not want you to be ignorant of this mystery, brothers and sisters, so that you may not be conceited. Israel has experienced a hardening, in part, until the number of the Gentiles has come in, and in this way, all Israel will be saved. As it is written, a deliverer will come from Zion. He will turn godlessness away from Jacob. And this is my covenant with them when I take away their sins. As far as the gospel is concerned, they are enemies for your sake. But as far as election is concerned, they are loved on account of the patriarchs. For God's gifts and his call are irrevocable. Now, if we use our Logos Bible software, we could hit that word irrevocable, go into the Greek, see what the Greek says. Not to be regretted, without regret, feeling no remorse. Irrevocable, no regret, that God doesn't regret his covenant with Israel, that the church is crafted into God's people, but that the church does not replace whatever is going to happen down the road when clearly this says all Israel will be saved. I think this is a very sensible view. I don't think that means that, Israel gets a blank check from Christian Zionists to do whatever they want. I had Pastor Jack Hibbs on. We've had this conversation on the channel before. And so I think this is a very sensible position, whether or not your eschatology aligns. Now, Pastor David is going to issue a challenge to Candace Owens and to some of you that are kind of sipping this Kool-Aid that I think is going to offend her and offend many of you guys. Let me let him cook. So at the 11-minute and 30-second mark, he explains how they are not a denomination. Really watch this. You guys don't understand how Calvary Chapel works. He does a great job of explaining this, and then he issues her a challenge. So check this out.
I want to make that a public declaration. We have no authority. We are not a denomination. We are there to help people. And the only thing I can do, if I see fit and necessary, is I can say, please stop calling yourself Calvary Chapel. We're going to take you off the list of those who are affiliated or associated with us, and that's about it. So maybe Candace doesn't understand that. I believe that she entered into the Catholic Church, and I think maybe it'd be a good idea for her to investigate what's taking place there. If she wants to start pointing things out, about bad doctrine maybe, or about bad practice, maybe she ought to spend time investigating her own sheep. And you might want to look at some of the things that the priests have done to their altar boys, but maybe that's going too far, right? So you're going to look at Calvary Chapel and you're going to say, well, Pastor Chuck was a CIA operative. Where in the world she gets that? I don't know. I really don't. But seeing that that's come up recently, I thought I'd take a moment to kind of share about that.
So props to Pastor David for addressing this head on. I think we need more people. I feel like it's just me out here sometimes, folks. It's not just me, but man, props to him. Do you guys think his assessment to point to her and say, hey, why aren't you investigating your own stream of Christianity before you're making all these wild claims? Do you think that's unfair? Why would that be unfair in light of the claims that she's made? Why would that be unfair? Hey, some of us remember the scandals that came out. And that's not an indictment on all Catholics, and that's not an indictment on the Pope. But there was some wild stuff. You are sitting here pointing the finger at, by all measurable accounts, what was a very organic grassroots explosion, the last great awakening the country had, which is because of Chuck Smith, because of Calvary Chapel, and not investigating your own tribe. That seems weird to me, and so I'm with Pastor Dave. I got a lot of Catholics that watch this channel. I love my Catholic brothers and sisters. I've had Catholic brothers and sisters on the channel, but there seems to be unjust scales with regards to how she is talking about this sort of stuff. And speaking of unjust scales and not really being able to process stuff the way Candace lays out stuff, I got to shout out this brother, Kazeen. He gives an example. I think that's how you say his name. He gives an example of how Candace will provide receipts, but then run on to the next thing and gish gallop and provide so much information. When you actually slow down and fact check something, she's already on to the next 28 claims. Okay, so check this out.
Owens always brings the receipts. But is she reading them right? In episode 245 of her show, Candace mentions that, according to tips, Charlie was not brought to the closest or best hospital.
We've also received a lot of tips that the hospital that Charlie was taken to is not the closest hospital. And it also would not have been the number one choice hospital for someone that was suffering from that sort of a wound. Like it was a trauma 3 center. He was taken to a smaller regional hospital that was a little farther away and was also less equipped for the trauma that he suffered.
Okay, so put a pin in that claim. This is how this stuff works. He wasn't taken to the closest hospital, and he wasn't taken to the best hospital. Okay, so whoa, wait a minute, something's off here. That means his team must have been in on it. Why did it not take him to the, right? So she may not be saying that directly here, even though she's made the claims that he was betrayed by everybody, but the insinuation, it remains the same.
He was taken to Timpanogos Regional Hospital.
She lists this as one of too many things that just don't add up.
Right.
But it does add up if you do the math. Candace is right. Charlie was not brought to the closest hospital because that one, Orem Community Hospital, can't handle gunshot wounds. It's not listed as a trauma center by Utah's Bureau of Emergency Medical Services.
Whoops. So what's the point of even saying that he wasn't taken to the closest hospital? Well, that's not a trauma hospital. They couldn't have been able to serve him there.
Candace is also right that Charlie was not brought to the number one choice of hospital because that one, Utah Valley Hospital, is almost 4 miles away, according to Google Maps.
Which in those types of situations, every minute, every mile, everything matters.
So what's the closest hospital that could treat him while he was bleeding out? The one that he was brought to, Timpanogos Regional, a level 3 trauma center only 2 miles away.
Right.
So Candace cited tips, said the official story didn't add up, but did she do the math?
You see? Do you see now? Do you see now? Those of you Candace simps that are still here and watching me engage with this sort of stuff, do you see the sleight of hand? Will she issue a correction? Will she clean this up? No! It's not good for ratings. Why would she?
But wait, there's more. In episode 253, she pivots.
But then we received an email from somebody in the medical staff at UVU saying, I'm certain that he was here, and I have a medical file and the text that we received at 2:08 p.m. saying that we're not allowed to touch the medical file. And here is the entry in the UVU system.
By UVU, she means Utah Valley Hospital.
The better hospital is far away. Now, a cool question for you guys. How long until you think she full on goes the Tupac is in Cuba route? Like, at what point do you think she just goes full on, like, you know, when Tupac got killed, he faked his own death and he's in Cuba with his aunt. How long until she gets there, do you guys think? Because different hospitals, where's the body, like all of these things. I think that's the next step. I think the next step is they're gonna go that way, which is gonna be even more gross and disgusting for the folks that are directly impacted by this. But let's let my man finish cooking here.
Now remember, we just established that hospital is further away than Timpanogos.
Right.
But she doesn't correct the distance claim. Instead, she raises a new suspicion that Charlie was treated at Utah Valley Hospital in secret based on a leaked medical file. So,
and shame on you, whoever leaked this to her. Shame on you on whoever leaked this to her. This is what happens when you allow your loony community to write your show for you.
First, the tips were saying that Charlie wasn't brought to the correct hospital.
Right.
When in fact he was.
Right.
Then the tips implied that Charlie was brought in secret to a different hospital.
Right.
So which one is it? Is the issue that he was brought to the wrong hospital or brought to the right hospital in secret? And by the way, there is an explanation for why a medical file existed at Utah Valley Hospital. I'll cover that in another video. Now, you might think I'm cherry picking. After all, she made a mistake on the hospital distances, but didn't she identify a bunch of other weird gaps? Yeah, she did. And the biggest issue here actually isn't that Candace can make mistakes. I do too. It's that the goalposts keep moving.
Right.
And always in favor of the skeptic. The issue isn't just mistakes, it's methodology. When one suspicious claim is disproven, it's replaced with an opposite claim, which is also labeled suspicious.
And then there's a bunch of other claims made.
And when a claim is disproven, then people say, well, it was just brought up as a tip, not a claim. But by the time that anyone can slow down long enough to do diligence and assess one suspicion, 5 more suspicions have already been brought up in their place.
Right.
And Candace Owens is raising suspicions 1 hour a day, 5 times a week. It took me 5 hours just to make this video rigorously examining one claim and one suspicion. How can anyone be expected to go through all of them?
And that's exactly the issue. How can anyone go through and debunk all of these when there are often legitimate answers? But most people aren't so chronically online that they're going to go down the rabbit hole of every conspiracy. This is just one creator. We've debunked some of her claims. There's been other creators that have debunked some of her claims, but there's only so many hours. And when you have a legion of people who are just sending you tip after tip after tip, and you are incapable of critically thinking through these things, you're going to arrive at very similar conclusions. And being incapable of critically thinking through some of these things and not just telling people what to think, but how to think, is a bit of Brett Cooper's response to why she thinks Nick Fuentes is so popular. Now, I used to really like Brett Cooper, but it seems like she's gone further and further into what I would call some of this woke right or woke right adjacent type of thinking with how she is navigating the Nick Fuentes conversation. So she is asked about this by NPR, and let's just see her response and how it connects to the broader issue with regards to, you know, how people should think versus what they should think.
As someone who draws a big audience yourself, why do you think it is that Nick Fuentes has a following with the kinds of things that he says continuously about Jews?
You know, number one, because so many people have said not to listen to him. And they've said that, you know, he is the equivalent of the Antichrist. And again, when
yes, Streisand effect is real. They really try to take him down. They deplatformed him. That only made him more popular. Now, if you guys know, we have a woke right challenge on this channel right now. Try to not listen to Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Nick Fuentes for 30 days. Give yourself 30 days and see how you feel at the end of the 30 days. No content that's telling you you're a victim. No content that's telling you the system is rigged. No content that's telling you there's a massive conspiracy or that the Jews did it or the immigrants did it. Try doing that. And by the way, someone left me a comment and said, Ruslan, man, that's a good challenge, but like you're addressing some of this stuff. Yes, I'm addressing some of this stuff to deter you away from the brain rot. But by the way, if my content is making you feel like you're a victim and the system is rigged and you can't get ahead, take a month off for me. That may not quote unquote serve me well, but I have no problem with saying that. So yes, I think she is right in that sense, but I think what she goes on to say next, I actually disagree with.
you point at something, you are directing attention to it. And secondly, because he's become a meme, he is huge on social media. People are not watching his show in its entirety. We are seeing clips of him. They're seeing the jokes that he made. I saw a thread.
It's the Andrew Tate effect, right? And then what happens? And then people hold water for him and say, well, you're taking him out of context. Like, no, he went on Piers Morgan. He co-signed all of his own statements of clips of blacks need to be in jail for the most part. We debunked that claim regarding women need to shut the F up and Jews run society. He made those statements and stood by them. He said it was really effing cool. So no, we don't need to sit and watch hours and hours and hours of him to know what he is and who he represents.
On X recently. And it was a person who is Jewish, I actually believe lives in Israel, is a Zionist, and said, I sat down and I watched a Nick Fuentes stream in its entirety. And he was like, I am so embarrassed to say that I laughed. He's a good communicator. He's funny. And I obviously disagree with a lot of the things that he says, and it goes against my, my religion and my beliefs as a Zionist, whatever it is. But he said, but I kind of got it because he's funny. And so
I got it because it's funny. First of all, this is an anecdotal example of some random person on social media making this claim. I don't know, maybe this is true, maybe it's not true. But just because something is funny doesn't mean that it's true or wholesome or good for you. Just because something is funny doesn't mean that you should consume it regularly. Andrew Tate is funny, okay? There's a lot of stuff that's funny. George Carlin was funny, but that doesn't mean he's good for you.
So I think a lot of people are not actually watching his show in its entirety, but they are consuming his memes and the TikToks that people make of him. And that is incredibly, incredibly powerful when it comes to my generation. Because if you can get social media, if you can bring people in through comedy and relatability, that will speak to them. And I think that's the part that a lot of conservatives have not been able to keep up with.
And when Ted Cruz says, this senator who had this exchange with you says, now is a time for choosing. Either you call out this guy or you're a coward and you're complicit. Is he right at all?
I think that as Americans, you should be allowed to listen to whoever you want to listen to. I don't think that I need to sit here and condemn anyone either way. There are things that Nick says that I don't agree with. There are things that Ted Cruz says that I don't agree with. I'm not going to sit here and condemn either of them.
I mean, unfortunately, this is peak fence sitting. Some of you guys are like, Ruslan, you're on the fence. Like, no, I'm not, man. When it comes to actual racism and actual bigotry and hatred, there's no middle ground. Now, yes, there are things that I disagree with Ted Cruz about, but not to this degree. So I think this is epitome of her trying to play both sides because she knows that the gropers are extremely annoying. And if she were to say the slightest thing that's critical of Nick, they would come after her. And in terms of young people finding authenticity and relatability as compelling, that's not an argument for why something is good and hopeful and beautiful and should be consumed. It's just saying this is popular. There's a lot of stuff that's popular that's awful for you.
I don't know if either of them actually like me. Nick has said that he does not like me at certain times and then he loves me. I was in a movie with Ted Cruz and we have had conversations and then he calls me an angry woman on X. Like I don't take it personally. I'm not concerned. I'm not going to condemn anyone. And I don't think that we should be sitting here telling people what they need to believe or who they need to condemn. We should be focused on positive solutions.
You can't tell people what to think. We should only be consumed with positive solutions. Meanwhile, propagating a dude that has no positive solutions. There's no positive solutions. What is this? What are the solutions he's presenting? It's easy. Listen to me. It's easy to present problems. It's easy to present problems. It's difficult to actually offer solutions. In a moment, we're going to look at Dave Ramsey actually presenting some solutions to you. But it's very easy to just throw out a bunch of problems and then say, the system is rigged, white people can't get ahead, our parents had it easy, they stole this from us, the immigrants are coming. And listen, yes, like the open border policies with Biden were bad. We get multiple things can be true at the same time. He can get some assessments of problems accurate, but there's no solutions, Brett. There's no solutions that he's presenting. There's nothing wholesome or valuable that he's presenting. And speaking of wholesome solutions, some of you guys are going to get mad at me. This is a great place to tell you guys about our actual solutions, which is, hey, invest in yourself by documenting your prayers, getting the 60-day devotional, getting you through the entire narrative of Scripture. I just restocked my Godly Ambition book, signed copies of my Godly Ambition book, giving you the framework of how to unlock the full potential of your time, talent, and treasure. So we actually are providing you solutions, very well and fair price with regards to a 60-day devotional, which, by the way, this I put this together with my man Will Anderson. This takes you through the entire narrative of Scripture, giving you a daily reading as well as custom journal prompts, meaning it's custom journal prompts. Another solution is to jot down your prayers and start journaling your prayers. We have prayer journals available, which, by the way, about the same cost as a Moleskine. If you were to walk into any Staples or Barnes & Noble, you can get a bundle of these for your friends and family for Christmas gifts, right? We got the leadership, discipleship bundle. Again, pick some of this up, and I think you'll be extremely shocked what happens if you turn off the brain rot and replace it with something that is gonna build you up and point you back to Jesus. Okay, let me engage with this last part that Brett says.
Telling people what's concerned. I'm not going to condemn anyone, and I don't think that we should be sitting here telling people what they need to believe or who they need to condemn. We should be focused on positive solutions, on driving a positive future for Gen Z. We're about to be the hugest, most significant voting bloc, and you need to get Gen Z and hold on and provide solutions for them to have a better life.
Yeah, and so this idea of like, don't tell people what to think. Don't tell people what to think. Okay, education was originally intended to that. If you didn't know, the university system was intended to help people learn to think, not just what to think. But there are times when we're looking at the atrocities of the past, when we're looking at things like the Holocaust or the Armenian genocide, that we should absolutely tell people this is wrong. This is evil. This is not okay. We shouldn't repeat this because we forgot, because it was 80 years ago. Is it too soon of the Holocaust? We should remind people of the atrocities so that we don't repeat them. Yes, we should absolutely tell people what to think. What do you think the Bible is doing? What do you think the Bible is doing when it's teaching scripture, when you're reading through the epistles that Paul is writing back, often answering the questions from the different churches, and he's telling them what to think. He's condemning some of their behavior. He's saying, no, you cannot be sexually immoral. No, you cannot hate people. No, you cannot have a superiority complex. There is none Jew, none Greek, no male or female, which Nick Fuentes mocks and laughs at. So Brett Cooper telling people we shouldn't tell people what to think or who to condemn. No. There are actual things that are evil and bad and should be condemned and are deplorable. And I'm shocked that she's playing the fence on something like this. Listen, you don't have to say everything Nick says is wrong, but you should draw a line and say, the Jew hatred, the black hatred, the women hatred, you should condemn those things. Those are bad. It's okay to say those are bad. And this idea of like, my generation doesn't need to be lectured to. Yeah, you do. Sometimes you need to be lectured to. Sometimes you need older, more godly, seasoned people that are a season of life ahead of you, that have families, have kids, and they're going to tell you the truth, even when it makes you uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient, even when you're like, it's the boomer. But the boomer's been around longer than you. The boomer has lived life. The boomer has actually gone through hardship, much of the same hardship that you've gone through in your 20s. And so I'm a bit disappointed with Brett Cooper on this. I usually love her takes. This to me was like, meh. I think she could have answered this much better. Now, you might be asking, Ruslan, why do you keep talking about this? We're tired of hearing about it. Here's why. Because I know there's a huge segment of my audience that overlaps with this Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and hopefully Brett Cooper doesn't go this direction, but what I would call the woke right, the victim mentality, identity politics, the immigrants and the blacks are coming to get us, and it's so bad for us. And I think it reinforces a victim mentality. At the same time, there's actual great advice being provided for young people. And one of those folks that is providing great advice, you guys say, oh, the boomer, is Dave Ramsey. If you guys don't know my story with Dave Ramsey, big Dave Ramsey fan, tell you more about how we overcame debt and all that sort of stuff. But Dave Ramsey actually acknowledges some of the structural, dare I say, systemic issues that we're going through and presents solution on how to fix the housing problem. And again, solutions are being presented that I think Trump should implement all of these. And I think there's some other ones that I could think of immediately to actually help stabilize the housing issue. So let's let Dave Ramsey cook. I'm going to incorporate some of my own personal testimony. Again, I'm a big advocate for going through the Ramsey program. If you haven't, this video is called What the Government Should Do to Fix the Housing Problem. Okay, check this out.
This is actually one of the few times you'll hear Dave say that the government could actually do something about this, okay? One is we've got large REITs, real estate investment trusts, and American corporations and Chinese corporations buying thousands and thousands and thousands of single-family homes.
Yep. So you guys know BlackRock that is scooping up entire neighborhoods and then renting them back to people, houses that families could buy. BlackRock is scooping them up. Dave Ramsey's saying that there's folks from other governments that are doing this. All of that is going to drive the prices up. And Ramsey's saying, yeah, we shouldn't do this. Like, single family homes should be for single families. He's spot on about this. And again, we're going to get into a couple of these different things.
And taking them off the market and putting them up for rent.
Right.
I mean, like 500,000 or 600,000 in the past few years.
Yep.
The basic use of a single family home is for a family to get a toehold in the marketplace and to build wealth and to have a stable place to live. When that's being affected by foreign organizations and by out of control capitalism, then you got to put some limits on that.
Right. Yeah, I think I would hope that everybody would be in favor of that. I would hope that Republicans and Democrats and everybody can unify on that idea. Well, yes, now we are talking about a bit of regulation within capitalism, which you need sometimes, right? People think that just because you're a capitalist, you don't want regulation. No, sometimes regulation is good. So with Dave Ramsey right here, I think this is a great point. Let's let him cook some more.
Airbnbs. Tens of thousands of single-family homes, condos, co-ops, whatever, are all
Townhomes,
they're bought by people at unrealistic prices only because they're turning them into a hotel.
Yeah. I mean, the Airbnb craze is relatively modern, and you're not renting those properties back to families that maybe can't afford to buy yet. You're renting them back like hotels. And there's a lot of money in Airbnb. I get it. But when your entire business is just scooping up, dozens and dozens of homes off the market, I think this disrupts and drives the cost up. The next thing he lays out is fixing the capital gains on housing so that people who are older and want to perhaps downsize, like a lot of boomers are sitting in massive houses, they're about to retire soon, they don't need a huge house, and they'll be fine with a smaller house, but they can't because the equity in their home is capped at how much they can pour into a new home. Dave Ramsey lays this out brilliantly. Check this out.
And it was a big deal. It used to be that you got a tax break a little bit on your personal residence, and they changed it massively, whatever it was 20 years ago, and said, okay, married filing jointly, you can make up to $500,000. Single, you can make up to $250,000 tax-free
on the growth of your
capital
home.
gain on your personal residence if you own it 1 year or more. Raising that to $1 million would take a bunch of boomers
out of their home
that would say, I would downsize, but I'm going to have to pay so stinking much tax, but I'm not going to downsize. And see, if that level will sell, the next level sells to move up into that, and the next level below that moves up. You create a domino down the price points.
Yeah, well said. I'm totally with him on that. And again, in a moment, I'll show you guys a bit of my Ramsey story. I would add, and maybe Dave would disagree with me, I think another thing people could do if they wanted to is freeze the rates of the people that have these houses that they don't want to be in anymore. So if someone has a 3% rate, they're really just holding on to that rate because their mortgage is low. What if they figured out a way to freeze that rate and say, hey, $1 million in the capital gains tax, you can go buy a house cash, or you can keep that rate and either pass it on to the person buying the house or take it with you. I know I'm just pontificating here. Ramsey's the expert on this stuff, but I think that could also help free up some of the inventory, because how many people are just staying in their home, older folks staying in their home because they got that super low 3% interest rate from a number of years ago when they had rates that low, and now they don't want to move because it would be more expensive. Their interest rate would be so much higher. So I think that's something else to think about. I'm not sure how Dave would feel about that, but that's a thought. And I got more thoughts too that I want to add to this.
Giving $1 million exemption instead of a $500,000 exemption, and even do it on all small ownership.
Yeah.
So if you had 2 rentals and you want to dump them, and you can make up to $1 million, you dump those back into the inventory pool for that sweet young couple to have a place to buy. But if you gave people a tax break on the rentals that they own and a tax up to $1 million, and on their personal residence, there'd be a bunch of houses going to market. So when you do development, if you develop a subdivision, if you're a developer, you buy a piece of land.
Okay, so here's the last one, development of a subdivision. I'm going to add to this.
And you put in a street, and you put in the utilities, and you go through all the stupid permitting, and you put up with the stupid city, and you go through all the stupid stuff about the trees and
dealing with cities, codes, zoning. It is absolutely a nightmare. We've had to get this studio zoned and permitted and all that sort of stuff, and it's a nightmare walking through this sort of process.
All those expenses you can't expense. They have to be depreciated over a large number of years.
Never knew this. What does that mean? That means that you can't just take it as a loss right away. You have to spread it out across years and years and years.
So you could put $15 million in a sewer system for a subdivision, and you don't get to write off $15 million. You get to write off $1 million a year for 15 years. They can expense it instead of depreciating it. That would stimulate developers to start building subdivisions, which would stimulate, and so you could do that.
Okay, so those are, I would say, very good ideas. Another thing that I think you could do is deregulate and make it easier to build, especially in major cities. Sometimes all the environmental restrictions, sometimes all the crazy stuff that's happening with regards to you can't build here because there's this endangered breed of squirrels or whatever, right? I think makes it harder, and then these developers only end up building luxury massive homes or luxury condos instead of building stuff for single families. Now, here, Ramsey does something really interesting. He acknowledges the systemic problems, the same problems that the Brett Coopers and the Tucker Carlsons and the Nick Fuentes talk about. But the tone in which he talks about these things, I think, is very different. It's empowering. It's telling you don't got to be a victim. And I'll share a bit of my story with the Ramsey stuff here in a second, but listen closely to what he says next.
We're increasingly realizing that the 25 and 26-year-old in America has been screwed by the large banks and the car companies like never before, like no generation before.
Absolutely. Student loan debt, how high a crazy car note is, the amount of credit card debt that's gone up, absolutely insane.
You cannot buy a house when you have a $1,200 car payment,
That's right.
when you have a student loan that's $85,000,
That's
and
right.
you got credit card debt coming out your ears. Record credit card debt,
Yep.
record car debt,
Yep.
record debt, and then you sit there and whine you can't buy a house because you got victimized by these people. You set yourself up for it. You signed up for the trip, baby.
He said you set yourself up for it and you've been screwed. Multiple things could be true at the same time. Federally insured student loans. One of the worst things that I think the government has done is insure people going to college with good intent. Hey, we're going to make it easier for people to get student loans. And then what happened? All the admin fees went up. All the fees went up for education, right? Because now the government's insuring these. And then what does that do? So a place like San Marcos out here, now you have rents going up. Why? Because they know that these college students are living off of loans. And when you're living off of loans, you're not really caring about it, or you're living off your mom and dad's money. And so those things then increase the rents in an area near the college, right? Instead of what is the actual going rate for that area. And so all of these things are intertwined. Now, some of you guys may know my story. Me and my wife both come from single parent homes. We made every dumb decision there is to make with money. And because of Dave Ramsey stuff, we went through a debt-free journey, especially those first 3 baby steps. $1,000 emergency fund, which, yes, I understand $1,000 in 2025 is not a lot of money, but most of you guys don't even have that. Get a $1,000 emergency fund. Get something in the bank, right? Most people are living paycheck to paycheck and can't afford a $500 emergency. You got $1,000. Hey, man, that's creating some buffer. Baby step number 2 is debt snowball your debts from smallest to largest, not the interest rates, so you could build that psychological momentum and then save 3 to 6 months of living expenses. When we got married a couple years in, we were really struggling. We started this system. We had technically 6 figures in debt. And within 18 months, we're completely debt-free. This is 2011, 2012, before I was making music, before I was on YouTube, before I was successful. My wife was working 2 jobs. I was going to school, working jobs, trying to hustle with music. And by the grace of God, we figured it out. And this is what I learned, especially those of you guys that want to be entrepreneurial, want to be creative, want to be on YouTube, want to build something. When you can decrease your overhead, you can decrease your expenses, you buy yourself margin. When you have margin in your life, and the margin is that number between what you make and what you need to make to survive, that margin frees up your capacity and your creativity and your risk to be able to go out and do other things. And so it's like when we got debt free, we then saved 6 months of living expenses. When we had 6 months of living expenses, we were able to take that jump over 10 years ago to transition and me be a full-time independent Christian artist. Then I segued from that into YouTube, and past 5 years I've been doing this primarily. And so all of these things are connected, and one of the best things you can do is clean up your finances. Once you get out of debt, what we did is then we said, okay, we're out of debt. Make sure that we're claiming a good amount on our income. And then we figured it out and said, okay, now we're claiming a good amount on our income. We went to a mortgage broker and said, how much do we need down? How much do we need to buy down in points? And we had that number that we were shooting for, that this is how much we needed. And it was a ridiculous amount. Remember, I live in Southern California, one of the most expensive places to live, in San Diego. And he said, hey, in order to get into a house this much, you need to have this much down. And it felt like an impossible amount at the time. But at least we knew the number we were shooting for. So we got out of debt, we cleaned it up, we got 6 months of living expenses, we worked on our income and our marketable skills to the market, to the value of whatever other people need, right? Some of you guys who are creative, you're like, hey, I want to follow my passion. And Mike Rowe has a great quote: don't just follow your passion, take your passion with you. Okay, one of the things I've been able to do is if I just follow my passion, I would still be trying to be a rapper full-time, a Christian rapper for Jesus. And you know what? What I did is I took my passion with me. I still incorporate a little bit of music. You guys know I'm going on tour in the spring, coming to a city near you. I'll be incorporating music there, but I'm taking my passion with me, but I'm really looking at what does the market value the most from me. And in that, by the grace of God, been 3 years now, we were able to get into a home in the zip code that we wanted to live in. It's not the nicest home. It's a home built in 1969, but man, we have everything we need right here. I was able to build my studio in the garage. And by the grace of God, we're figuring this thing out. Some of you guys see what we do, and you see that we have, a Patreon membership, which, by the way, if you want to help us make more videos like this, partner with us on Patreon. You see that we're putting on our Bless God Summit. You see our Bless God shop. You think we're printing money over here. No, we're not. We're still a small mom and pop business trying to figure out, much like many of you guys. But I say this over and over, You don't have to be a victim. You don't have to blame the immigrants, the Jews, the blacks, the system, the banks, whoever. Listen, we all start from different places, but that doesn't mean that you can't put your head down, work hard, develop yourself, become useful, and discover God's purpose for your life. A lot of this is what I'm exploring in my brand new book, Godly Ambition, which talks about my story, but also gives you a lot of scriptural frameworks and practical advice on how to go and unlock the full potential of your time, talent, treasure. We now have signed copies of this. It's available on Amazon. I think it's like $20 on Amazon, but we have limited edition signed copies. You can get directly from us over at blessgod.shop. You go here, check it out. Again, pour something good, something wholesome, something uplifting into yourself. Pick up the book. And then, of course, if you click under the live events tab, you can see I'm coming to a city near you: Houston, Dallas, Chicago, the Pittsburgh area, Arlington, Virginia, which is the DC area, New York, Los Angeles, Clearwater, Florida, the Tampa area, and Atlanta, Georgia. Go get your tickets now, because my goal is, much like Dave Ramsey was for me, is to pour into some hope into you guys, to get you guys off the internet and get you in the room, because there's nothing like being in the room with someone. There's nothing like being able to ask your questions, nothing like being able to hang out. We're doing that this spring. So I want to see you guys there. Don't play yourself. So don't miss out. And I think a lot of this is predicated on the idea that life is going to be easy, that you're going to have it easy. And that's just not true. Jesus said there will be trouble in this life. And Wes Huff gives a brilliant answer to this exact issue on deconstruction, connecting it to the idea that many people just are not equipped, that life is going to get hard, that it's not always going to be peaches, that it's not always going to be easier than your parents had it in the 90s, in this era, and that era, and a lot of the grievance that people have. He brilliantly points it out and connects the dots in that some of what we've seen with regarding the focus deconstructing is actually because people were not equipped, oftentimes by big churches, to suffer well, to take the roots deep and down. So let me play this. Shout out to the 100 Huntley YouTube channel. You guys should really go check out the full video of this. I just wanted to play this part about deconstruction specifically.
There was a lot of just kind of superficiality, seeker sensitivity that I think had the right motivation, but the wrong method by which to go about that.
Right motivation, wrong method to go about that. You're trying to get people into church. Great heart, but sometimes not always great for people. And Kerry Newhoff just did his podcast. We actually talked about the seeker attractional method. Great motivation, sometimes not always best for people. So let's let Wes cook here a bit more.
In that they genuinely saw that they wanted to get people through the doors of the church, which is a good goal to have. But in doing so, what they were trying to win them with is what they won them to. Mm-hmm. And so because it was very superficial, it was very kind of on the surface, it didn't have any substantial depth. When the winds and the rains of trial and suffering, hurt, did eventually come, there was no root system to be able to ground them.
Notice he said when trial comes. He didn't say if. He said when. And so some of this maybe is a byproduct of folks growing up in church and not having the firm foundation that it's not if trouble is going to come, when is trouble going to come? And when trouble comes, and when there's a turn in the economy, and when things go hard, and when you have a rough patch in your relationship, what are you going to do? Are you going to collapse and blame everyone else? Or are you going to say, you know what, the Lord is still good. Jesus promised me there will be trouble and suffering, and I'm going to learn to persevere through this. I'm so glad that Wes is talking about this, because I connected to much of the broader discontentment and frustration that young people are dealing with, because maybe they were just repeatedly told that you're a snowflake, you're one of a kind, you know, do whatever you put your mind to, you can do, and all these platitudes, when in reality, life is hard, man.
You talked about, that having that foundation before. When my parents lived in Ontario, we moved our family across to British Columbia for a couple of years. And when we did move, my dad, my grandfather, and I drove our van and a U-Haul trailer across the country. And I remember very vividly in Saskatchewan driving across like the very flat fields, right, watching a dog run away for a week, and seeing this giant tree in the middle of the field that just kind of stood out. And it was always this picture of, for me, how did that tree survive? And the answer was, it had a root system that probably was both grounding it and pulling in the nutrients that were required for its particular growth in that point in time.
Yeah, the tree survived because it went deep.
But it's too late for the tree to try to grow the roots in the midst of the storm.
Sheesh.
And I think if we're talking about what I think are probably the legitimate issues with a lot of people who go through the quote-unquote deconstruction, I'm not sure that they were given the proper nutrients and foundation and soil quality to be able to grow roots that actually gave them subsistence, so that when those things did happen, it was somewhat too late.
When these things did happen, when the trouble did come, it was too late. So they leave the church, they go online, they become chronically online, they consume 7 hours of content a day. By the way, that's what the average American consumes, almost 50 hours a week, not seeing the correlation that, hey, maybe cut down on some of that and you could actually build up other areas of your life. Then you keep going deeper down the rabbit hole, you get radicalized. And God willing, man, why do I keep talking about this? I'm really talking about this because I'm hoping that this is a lifeline to some of you guys. I'm hoping that this is the lifeline to some of you guys. That comments like this is why I'm going to keep talking about this sort of stuff. He said, Ruslan, it's important. You know that I was on the Candace bandwagon and almost into the Fuentes stuff as well. Because of your content, I've been able to take a step back, focus on reality, get my life in check. You've helped nuance my thoughts on Israel conspiracies and how I should be consuming media as a whole. Your content is a blessing, and I pray for your ability to continue showing people the truth and helping them focus on Savior above all else. God bless you, brother. Recently got Godly Ambition, an audiobook. This is why I'm going to keep talking about this sort of stuff. So I think Wes Huff is absolutely right, is that, man, when you go down this rabbit hole, you get radicalized, and then before you know it, you had no roots. So we're going to come back to Wes in a second, but first, let's go to the daily proverb. And this proverb may be triggering to some of you guys, but we got to talk about it. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 4. Today is December 10th. That's why we're reading Proverbs chapter 10. It says, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. He who gathers crops in summer is a prudent son, but he who sleeps during harvest is a disgraceful son. My question for many of you guys, is it a season of harvest, and are you burying the opportunities that are in front of you? Is it a season where if you cut back on some of that screen time, you locked in on some of the scripture and the wholesome content, the things that you need to be consuming, being in a local church, hearing good preaching, would it possibly be a time of harvest when we take light of the amazing opportunity that we have to be born in this time, this age, this access to technology, social media, all these different things? Man, I just wonder, is it a season of harvest? Let's keep going. In a previous segment, we talked about how Brett Cooper said people don't need to be told what to think. But in Proverbs 10:8, it says, the wise in heart accept commands, but a chattering fool comes to ruin. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever takes crooked paths will be found out. Whoever winks maliciously causes grief, and a chattering fool comes to ruin. The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life. Is your mouth a fountain of life, friends? But the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. Hatred stirs up conflict, but love covers all wrong. Wisdom is found on the lips of the discerning. So many of us need to be more discerning in these times. But a rod is for the back of one who has no sense. The wise store up knowledge, but the mouth of fools invites ruin. Okay, let's go back to my man Wes Huff. Let him unpack this a bit more.
You know, what I would want to encourage people is that the point of deconstruction is reconstruction, because if you deconstruct something and you don't reconstruct it, it's just demolition.
So much of what's happening within people's faith, so much of what's happening online is straight demolition. Straight demolition. And it is harmful, right? It is harmful. When people were so on fire for Jesus and then they quote unquote deconstruct, but they never reconstruct it with anything.
Right? And so your worldview perspective shouldn't be a movement of demolition. Mm-hmm. Doubt is not a problem, but it's not the destination. Mm-hmm. So if we
doubt is not a problem, but it's not the destination. Come on, Wes. Come on, Wes.
We see doubt as the destination and we get fixated with that. Mm-hmm. We're not actually getting to the answers that we should be pursuing in a lot of those things. And unfortunately, I think that's what I see a lot, is that people are kind of taking doubt and they're putting it in the place of the final place where the answer should come from. And they're pushing into their questions, but without actually trying to seek answers. Yeah. And in that sense, a lot of people become cynics rather than skeptics.
They're seeking into their questions without actually looking for answers. There's good answers, friends. There's good answers. And so then what happens is they're just cynics. Let me pull this back one more time.
Without actually trying to seek answers.
Yes.
And in that sense, a lot of people become cynics rather than skeptics.
Cynics rather than skeptics. Is that not a beautiful and accurate descriptor of the signs of the times, friends?
Because I'm, to some degree, I'm a skeptic. I will reserve judgment on a particular topic until I feel like I have sufficient answers for any said topic. But a cynic I think is doing so because the questions are the endpoint for them.
The questions are the endpoint for them. Come on, Wes. Come on, Wes. The questions are the endpoint for them. Man, this so beautifully summarizes everything we've been talking about today. The questions are the endpoint for. I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions.
And I think that's where we should be honest and self-reflective and say, you know, maybe there are actually answers that provide sufficient groundwork to actually reconstruct the deconstruction that we've been putting ourselves through.
Man, that's so good. Guys, check out this full pod over on the 100 Huntley album. And I would be a bad friend if I didn't tell you guys that Wes Huff is going to be at our Bless God Summit. I need you guys out of the comments and in the room with us. Come hang out, blessgodsummit.com. It's happening March 5th, 6th, and 7th. You got plenty of time. We're 3 months out. Come hang out with me, Wes Huff, Michael Knowles, Ninjas and Butterflies, Gavin Ortland, KB and Amin from Southside Rabbi, Dr. Sean McDowell, God Logic is going to be debating, Jacob Hansen on the Trinity, Mike Winger is going to be there, Trizzleman Fitness, Josh Nadeau. What do you mean? Guys, this you don't want to miss this event. My man Justin Early, don't play yourself. Antonio Cover, we just confirmed her, and we got other people, Dustin Savella. Go to blessgodsummit.com. Get your tickets now. You can go right there, hit purchase tickets. If you're in a financial struggle or you're balling, we actually have opportunities for both. If you want to get a scholarship, go and apply for the scholarship right now. Want to be a sponsor? You get sponsorship inquiries or scholarship applications. So if you got some extra, you want to sponsor some people to come to this summit, we got a waiting list on the scholarship application. Sign up for that because we're going to be giving away tickets. We want as many of you guys there, off of the comments, in the room, hanging out with us, because there's nothing like one of these in-person events that will cause transformation, in my humble opinion. And so, blessgodsummit.com. Get your tickets now. And again, I want to hear from you guys, man. This is day 3 of us trying this new format. Let me know if you guys like it. I actually find it way more fulfilling. I feel like we're getting more stuff out. My thoughts are a bit more organized. We're still working on the transitions between topics, but I really do want to hear from you guys. And if you guys have been enjoying this, do me a favor, consider partnering with us on Patreon. I got some upgrades I want to make. I actually got a new microphone that I got today. If you guys notice, I'm using an overhead mic. I don't know, I feel more free this way. Also, I'm hoping to upgrade my teleprompter to have more notes. I have an old teleprompter, not using it right now, but I'm hoping to have a bit more notes in the teleprompter. Hoping to upgrade to the Blackmagic 6K cameras. And so the best way you could help us here is to partner with us on Patreon. It starts at $6.99 a month. And yes, we have over 10,000 followers right now, but many of them are free. And so we'd love to get you guys over on Patreon. Another way you could partner with us is to do your Christmas shopping with us. Hey, why spend your money with the pagans, with the people that hate you, hate your God, hate everything you represent, when you could do a little bit of shopping, get yourself one of these Devos, pick up our 60-day devotional. You can get a signed copy of my book. These are limited edition. We just got them restocked. We have some of the hats. We have the Occupy Till I Come t-shirt right here on sale as well. The reversible armor of God jacket in Japanese salvage denim. So one side is Japanese salvage denim. The other side is like a bomber jacket. These are awesome products that you could help support us, and you can get some of your Christmas shopping done. So it's a win, 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 win. Prayer journals available. All these things are available. blessgod.co, and then the tour dates are right under the live events. Again, Houston, Dallas, Chicago, Pittsburgh, DC, New York, Los Angeles, Tampa area, and Atlanta, Georgia. I cannot wait to see some of you guys in person. And whether it's at the Bless God Summit or on the tour. So be sure to get your tickets now. The link is pinned up for all of that below. You get that free 60-day trial. You can pick up something from the merch store. All these, like, I know you're like, Ruslan, you guys are printing money over there. We're not. We're really not. We're doing our best. We're a small mom and pop shop operation, and we're trying to do our best. Be faithful. That's why we're trying the new format. That's where we're going to keep stepping it up. And we're hoping that you guys step it up in your partnership with us. All right. So if you want to do that, some of these links will be over here. I think Patreon will be over here. And you could check out a video that YouTube is recommending to you, specifically for you, based on your viewer history. Let me know if I nailed that, and I will see you tomorrow. All right, remember to keep living a life that blesses God. Peace.